there have been hundreds of games that have passed through my collection, but only a select few have remained on my shelves and may never leave. These are the games that define my collection, my tastes, and my table. And these aren't just the best games ever made. They're the ones that I can't part with no matter what comes out on Kickstarter or is the newest hotness. And I want to be clear that this list isn't about hype or recency bias. It's about longevity and love. These are the top 10 games that may never leave my collection. So welcome to Game Brigade. If you're new here, thank you for joining me. Please consider hitting the like button, subscribing, as you might find my channel to be something you're interested in watching. My name is Brian. Welcome to Game Brigade. Today on the show, as I mentioned, we're going to be talking about the top 10 games that may never leave my collection. So how did I come up with the games on this list? Well, there's a few select things I looked at. One, did they offer endless replayability? What about the replayability value of the game? Is it something that I can continually keep coming back to? Does it hold a sentimental value for me? Is it something that I can't get rid of because of sentimental reasons? Whatever that may be. They might also be the perfect fit for my player group or my wife, or they've survived multiple culls and reorganizations of my collection, which means they mean something more than just a board game. These also could be games that represent so well in a genre that they don't need a replacement. So with that, let's take a look at the first games. And the first game that I'm going to be pulling out is a game that I would say is probably one of the most cliched games many people would say, but it is a game that I still hold a part of my heart for, and that is Wingspan from Stonemaier Games. Wingspan is one of the first games that I started playing that really reintroduced me into the board gaming hobbying space. I've been playing board games for the better part of 25, 30 years, but it wasn't until I played a lot of the Stonemaier games like Wingspan or Scythe that I really dived back into the modern board gaming era, or the resurgence of this new golden era of board games. Wingspan was the best introduction board game of complexity, replayability, and fun that I've seen in a long time. And while there's been plenty of games that have come and gone on my collection, Wingspan still holds a special place in my heart. And I'm not sure if that's the nostalgia creeping in, telling me that this game is so good from the years I've had it, or is it still genuinely such a good game? I think it's actually a little bit of both, but I do think that the way this game presents itself and makes it so approachable that I've even able to teach gamers that are non-gamers. So we're talking my father-in-law and mother-in-law. These are people in their 60s who don't play board games, but they're willing to give Wingspan a chance, and they liked it. And I think that's why Wingspan is such a mainstay in my collection. It just fits so many niches, and it's so good at reintroducing or bringing people into the hobby that never thought they would play. The next game I'm going to be talking about is Brass Birmingham, the economic game for me to end all economic games. Now, there are some games that have tried to challenge Brass Birmingham, but Brass is so good at having players think of different strategies and ways as other players take up different spots on the board that it becomes a thinky, crunchy puzzle every time I've played it. Now, I would say Brass has slowed down in the amount of times we played it recently. I think one of the reasons that might be is I achieved a goal that I had set out for myself for a long time, and I didn't know if it was even possible, but I wanted to see how well I could do by never taking a loan from the bank. A lot of times, or at least the way I was even taught this game from the people who taught me when they showed me the game, I'm kind of rambling there, is that you have to take a loan. It's just part of the game. And while it's not something you want to do, it's something you're going to do, and all players should expect to do that. And that is how I taught the game to my group, and just, you're going to have to do it. It's part of the game. But after enough plays and enough experience, I started seeing new avenues of strategies and things that I can implement. And I was really trying to see, is it possible to get to that point where you can make enough income where you no longer have to be worried about needing to take a loan? And I finally did it in our last play, and in which I even won that game. And I'm very proud of that minor achievement accomplishment for it. So while I haven't played Brass since that moment in time, It's still a game that I would probably just as much love if I got it back to the table, and I couldn't see myself getting rid of this at least anytime soon. It's definitely a mainstay for my collection. The next game I want to highlight here is War of the Ring. This is the second edition from Ares Games, but I actually have a collector's edition coming from Ares that I've ordered, and I'm super excited to get that kind of all-in collector's edition added to the list or to my collection, because War of the Ring is definitely my favorite two-player, you can play more, but two-player strategic war game that embodies an IP. Now, I do have Rebellion still in my collection. I have Dune, the new Dune from Simon Games. But War of the Ring is special to me, and I don't know if it's just specifically the IP speaks to me so well. Rebellion speaks to me as well with the IP, but War of the Ring, I remember a specific time when I was doing an interview with Ivy Studios when they were doing their own YouTube channel for a time, and I brought up a question to them, and it was specifically because I've played War of the Ring, and I wanted to talk about it. And the question I asked them is, what makes games fun? What is it for you that makes games fun? Well, for me, it was feeling like a kid again, or reliving, or feeling like the reenactment that I'm doing something. And War of the Ring embodies that feeling for me so well, where I really feel like I'm reliving the story of the War of the Ring, Lord of the Rings rather, the Two Towers. I feel like I'm actually part of the universe. The action cards, the way the map is built, the systems and the way it's designed really gives you that feeling of a thematic masterpiece. And that's why War of the Ring, while there are many games that fill similar niches, and I thought at one point maybe Dune might replace this game, I still have a hard time replacing it. Unfortunately, it doesn't get tabled as much as I want to, because it's hard to have a game that lasts as long as War of the Ring in just a two-player setting. It's a very niche-y type of commitment that I haven't had as many opportunities lately, especially when I started this board game channel. Oh, I almost lost my game there. That I've had. That's actually heavier than you would expect, because I have all the expansions in there. So it's definitely a heavy one. Keeping with the theme, we're going to stick with Lord of the Rings. Coming at number 4 is the Lord of the Rings card game. Now, I could say that you could overlap this with Marvel Champions. They both play a very similar role for me. But I find that I've been tabling not the Two Towers. This is just, I grabbed one of the boxes. I have a ton of boxes behind the camera. I grabbed, but for me, the Lord of the Rings card game gives, again, the similar feel that the board game War of the Ring gives me, where I'm feeling like I'm playing out these stories. The challenges of each of the different types of villains that you can fight gives it such a unique feel. And the complexity of the game is so much more difficult than, say, Marvel Champions, that I find myself struggling more with this one and having to give more thought to the deck building process. I can't just go online. Well, I guess I could if I wanted to, but I can't just go online and grab a random deck and then smash multiple different villains like I could in Marvel Champions. In Marvel Champions, I could take a deck and play against multiple different types of bosses. It didn't really matter what the current theme or the struggle or puzzle for this challenge was. I could defeat it. But I haven't found that to be the same with this game. I find that I have to really think about the different types of cards I'm going to be facing, the enemies I'm going to be facing, and really craft a deck or make sure I have cards to deal with those answers that's a little bit more unique. And that's why I find that this game has been really, really solid for my solo plays. I do enjoy it for 2 players. Again, I don't get this tabled as much for my 2-player gameplays, mostly because none of my other friends have a collection that they want to build, and then they would have to use my cards. It just, it's how it is. It's just part of the lifestyle of these games. This next game generally requires, at least in my experience, a 3-month scheduling and approval from all of my friends' wives. But every time we played it, it's been a great experience, and that is Twilight Imperium, specifically 4th edition. This game, I don't know what it is about Twilight Imperium, but it is an experience that I think everyone in the board gaming space should at least try it once. It might not be your cup of flavor, but the game for me has given me so many different stories and memories that I don't think I could get from any other experience. Now, of course, the hard part about Twilight Imperium is the time requirement to play this game. It can require 8 to 12 hours of a day, and not a lot of us grown adults are willing to commit that much time. There was a time back in 2019, 2018, where we committed a lot of time to playing these big 4X games, and it was an incredible experience. And I kind of am shocked a bit at how we were able to get the time to play this every weekend. But as I've gotten older, I'm in 40 now. I'm almost 41. This game doesn't get to the table so much, but the memories and the enjoyment that I have when I do play it is something that I could never see replacing it. I've also tried multiple times, and if you've seen this channel, if you've seen the calling episodes where I release games or send games away, I have tried to see if there's ways to get this game to leave the collection, to find something that fits a smaller table space or a shorter time length. But nothing ever matches the experience that Twilight Imperium provides, and I think that just means it's a game that's going to be sitting here for quite a while longer. This next game, I probably could sit here and look you in the face and tell you that this game has the best art in all of board gaming, and that is Terraforming Mars. Just Terraforming Mars. Obviously, I'm kidding. Terraforming Mars probably has the worst art of all board games because they use basically non-copyright material, free clip art kind of stuff. It has been a running meme for this game, but the way that this game is so well designed and made to be one of the best tableau builders that I've ever played, it is hard for me to ever consider letting it go. Now, I have the complete collection, is what this box lid kind of shows. It has all the expansions. I've got the 3D terrain miniatures. And I found that over the years of owning this game, my need for having all of this stuff has reduced. And I think if I were to recommend this to anyone, I would think Terraforming Mars is probably best served in a smaller table. You could have all these expansions, but I find the base game with maybe one expansion, or definitely the prelude expansions, definitely are really all I need to get the most out of this incredible tableau builder, and one that I would definitely never want to see leaving my collection anytime soon. So that is Terraforming Mars, the game with the best art. Kinda, maybe not. Another classic is Castles of Burgundy. This is a game that I actually have 2 copies in my collection. We have one that's a little smaller, that's a travel size that we can take with us when we go camping or to an Airbnb or something. And of course, I have my deluxe special edition from Awakened Realms. Castles of Burgundy is a game that I think stays because of the way the puzzle is so crunchy and so satisfying that every time I've played it, I've been just so enamored with trying to come up with the way to win, especially with the unique board that you can get, especially, you know, with all the different types of boards you can have. I find that also adds a lot of layers of replayability, and even having challenges of us playing the same board so that we're all having the same challenge has been kind of a unique experience. I've always tried going into this game being like, let's all have different boards and different things, so we're all kind of going for something different, but trying the few times, which I'm not sure if it's easier or not, but trying it the opposite and saying, hey, let's all have the exact same board has also been kind of a fun little experiment. Castles of Burgundy is a dice laying game. I don't know how do I describe Castles of Burgundy. You roll dice, you get different tiles based on those dice, and you got to place them into your specific board, but you have to match the tiles with the locations that you have. It's a very interesting crunchy puzzle. That's obviously the worst way to describe this game, but it's definitely one I love and one I will never see myself getting rid of. And that's Castles of Burgundy. Either version. I don't think I'd get rid of either version that I have. This one might come as a shock to some of you guys. This is Clash of Cultures, specifically the Monumental Edition from WizKids. This game is the Civilization game that I have found to be the most satisfying of all the Civilization games. There's a few games that I thought would compete with it. Monumental down here is one of them. But in terms of having different types of civilizations, so you have the Aztecs, the Egyptians, the Japanese, etc. Think of classical civilizations with their asymmetrical abilities, which is featured in the Monumental Edition. You have the tech trees with the ability of every player to kind of expand upon their tech and take different types of routes of victory, as well as the different types of monuments that you can eventually construct. This game really hits all the nails in the head for me when it comes to a civilization game. And whenever we talk about playing a game that's like this is the first one I always recommend. recommend, and it almost always wins the vote when it comes to all the other civilization type titles. And there was a time, if you remember back on my channel between 2021 and 2024, that I was hunting for a civilization game. I had a lot of games that I went through, got played, and removed because they just weren't hitting the itch. This one has stuck around ever since I backed it through the Kickstarter, kind of the pre-order campaign, and I love it. Definitely thing that's don't see it leaving anytime soon. Coming in number 9, not really number 9 in terms of a list, but Dune Imperium. This is the big box. I have both Dune Imperium and the Uprising base game, and I've combined them into one giant Dune Imperium game. Wouldn't recommend that for most people. I did remove one of the expansions, I think it's called Immortality, the one where you have the cards you can fuse together. I did remove that one from my specific game because I felt it was a little too overwhelming. But this game is one of the best deck building worker placement hybrid games I've ever played. There's a lot of games that try to do the somewhat similar. You've got Endless Winter, you've got Lost Ruins of Arnak. They all have their own little niches that are trying to do, but they have somewhat similar feels of worker placement and deck building. But Dune Imperium, in my opinion, is the most true to what that would mean. If I were telling you worker placement, you would think placing a worker, taking action, and deck building, taking cards, building it to your hand to build a deck that does things. This is that game. There's other games that more focus on the worker placement action, but kind of let go on the deck building. Or there's one that focuses on the deck building, but kind of have some mediocre worker placement. And when I'm thinking of when I'm wanting a game that has the crunchiness of a worker placement, where you have limited action slots, where you have people taking positions from you, which means every action is imperative, with the restrictions of your deck building, Dune Imperium so far has been the hit for me. I definitely love this game. I would recommend, if you're looking at this, to either look at the Uprising and what it offers versus just Imperium, because I don't necessarily think you need both. Because I had Dune Imperium and all the things when Uprising came out, it just was a natural progression for me to get it. And at the moment, I do not have the Bloodlines expansion. It's something I've thought about consider adding it, but I don't think it even fits in my box, which kind of makes it a little bit of a decision. Like having everything kind of confined and neatly tied in a box is really nice, instead of having to have a separate expansion box loose. And right now this thing is stuffed to the gills. You guys have to believe me, it is stuffed. You can't get any more into it. But that's number 9. And finally, the final game on this list doesn't mean it's the best game or the worst game. It's just a game I can't see myself ever getting rid of. And that's Axis and Allies. This is specifically my anniversary edition. I am so happy I have this. This is an edition of the game that includes both the 1941 and the 1942 setups, so you can play either of those versions of the game. It includes an additional player factions for the Italian players, giving a little bit more play for the Axis side, and then it also includes the playable Chinese faction, which is controlled by the US players. This game, if you know anything about my channel, I'm a big World War II buff. I love the history of this time period, the way the people fought for their countries and their ideas. This era is just something I grew up with. My dad was a huge World War II. I think I grew up watching the History Channel like every day as like a 10-year-old. So it kind of was, programmed into me maybe. But I love this game. And I looked for the anniversary edition for so long. It was out of print, and then they finally reprinted it when Renegade Games got the rights to remaster and reproduce the Axis and Allies line. They redid the anniversary edition, and I immediately pre-ordered it. I couldn't do it faster. The game just provides such a good tactical depth of play, depending on the side of the faction you're doing. And I really like how, depending on the era, you could start in 1941. The Germans are going to feel very overwhelming, the Axis in general, and it takes a little bit of time for the Allies to kind of build up. And if you play it right as the Axis, you can overwhelm the Americans and never get them a chance to establish themselves. If you start in 1942, it's a little bit more neutral based. You got both Axis and Allies, a little bit more neutral, and it takes a little bit more strategy to figure out who's going to Subtle mistakes or misplays could kind of throw your entire gameplay over. But again, your opponent could also make those similar mistakes and swing it back into your favor. In terms of a true tactical war game, this is the one that I have yet to see being replaced in my collection. And I still actually have 2 copies. I have the 1942 second edition still in my collection. I probably won't keep that much longer. It also has the D-Day version. Again, the D-Day version is a micro scale version of just a specific battle. But the Anniversary Edition kind of fulfills all those needs for me. I don't really need those other versions. So I could see myself letting go of the smaller boxes, but definitely not letting go of the 1941 Anniversary Edition anytime soon. This is kind of like a collection mainstay for me. I'm probably going to be 90 years old and still have this in my collection. So that comes down to the top 10 games that I could see not leaving my collection. But there are a few games that I could see challenging a spot for this list. So let's talk about them. The first game that I want to talk about that could see itself potentially finding its way into this list is Arx, specifically the Blighted Reach expansion. Arx, the base game, is a game that was very confusing for me. It's a game that was enjoyable, but also not enjoyable at the same time. Challenging. Not going to say it was never challenging. It's always challenging. And scratches the itch of what I get when I'm playing my Twilight Imperium game with a 4X experience, but offering such a different play style that it definitely requires you to think of everything differently. And it's a game that I just haven't experienced like that very often. The Blighted Reach is supposed to take the game Arx that I played and just stand on its head and say, this is actually the game. I've been so excited to play this more, to dive in more into the campaign, to see all of the versions of the events and things that you can get, that I think that this game offers a real interesting breadth of what ifs and potentials and gameplay experiences and those stories and those memorable moments that not a lot of other games could hit. But it could also not. We'll see. The game has been kind of 50-50 with some people in my player group. So while I think there's a lot of potential here, it's one that kind of rocks the boat in kind of an unnecessary way. And the final game that I really think would really make a good running for my top 10 of all time games that never leave the collection is Slay the Spire. Slay the Spire, the video game, is one of my favorite pick up and play roguelikes. Roguelike means it's a randomly generated game every time you go into it, and you have to kind of use the tools that you're given each level or each round to expand. It is definitely made like a board game, and now we have the board game version, and I really am enthralled and excited. It's one of the first games I've had in such a long time that I just want to dive into it more. And that means something to me. When you have a game that makes you just think about it all the time, to think about playing it again or diving into the experience, I think that's something special and something to really consider for a list like this. Slay the Spire is a deck building game where you're going to be playing one of the 4 different types of heroes that all have a specific type of ability and a specific type of deck, and you're going to be drawing cards that are unique to those characters. Sometimes you can draw other character cards, but not as common. You're going to be building a deck, and not every time, not all the cards you're going to draw as availability are going to work in the deck you're trying to build. And your goal is to take these cards and to form them into some sort of strategy. There's also rewards that you can get that give you some great buffs, but some of them might be bad, some of them might be worthless, or some of them will be game busting. It's an incredible experience, and it really challenges you to think about every decision you're doing in terms of adding a card, going to the shop, going to another boss to get more gold or more rewards. Every decision matters, and I really, really like the way this game is designed. It's so elegantly transformed from the video game to the board game, and it's one that I'm super excited to see more of. So those are my top 10 games that I couldn't let go of as of right now. My question to you, though, is what are your top 10 games that you couldn't let go of? Why don't you let me down in the comment section down below with a hashtag QOTD, which will get you an entry into our board game giveaway when we hit our 10,000 subscribers. And let me know in the comments, what are some games that you can't get rid of in your collection? And the other question I'd like to have, just add on but not part of the giveaway, What are some games that I should look at? What are some things that I've kind of not considered, or maybe I've looked past? What are some of your favorite games that you think I should take a second look at? I'd love to know in the comment section down below. If you found this video fun or enjoyable, please remember to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section, and I will talk to you very soon.